That's right. We are human beings, and one of the things that we do to communicate is we talk. And here on this program, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, we love to present something about everyday life to you and have you take it and run with it with your own lived experiences, your insights, your wisdom, your comments, your helpful thoughts. That's what we're going to do again today on anything you would like to talk about. It is our monthly unscripted show. That means Debbie and I are completely without a topic to present, so you have to pick one that you want to talk about.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Unscripted is so popular. You can revisit past shows. You can address issues that are on your mind or your heart, or you can bring up future topics you'd like us to put on the show calendar. Remember, this is your show. We do this together. This is a peer ministry. So you can discuss virtually anything with us. You can ask us some personal questions if you'd like to about our faith journeys, about our life, whatever. I mean, we're here. We aim to please, and that's why it's so popular, Unscripted. So here's the number. Get in quickly, because it's a very fast show today and we love it, and it's a great way to start our weekend. So this is the great number to call. You'll speak to Ryan. He'll put you on hold. You get to listen live, and you can just jump in at any point. Here's the number: 1-833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986.
Yeah, you could comment on how life is just going for you right now. Maybe you need prayers for something. We have a regular prayer show every month, but we can put some of those in on this unscripted show. If you're thinking about all the things that are going on in the world right now, the difficulties in the church, a lot of times on our recent unscripted shows, many people have wanted to weigh in on the ongoing saga that is besetting the church right now with the abuse scandals and the cover-up, and now the federal government talking about getting involved and all. So we can talk about that. We can talk about it's fall. We're going to turn the clocks back an hour, I think, next weekend. So you can talk about how your fall routines are settling into place, if you've got a favorite devotional or prayer or a saint. So you basically get the idea, but you got to call early because phone lines do fill up. In fact, they're already getting full. Couple still open.
I have a couple things I need to share real quickly from our listeners from yesterday's show, Jerry, and
Sure.
a previous show. Okay, the Lady Undoer of Knots novena and prayers are being said for Kelly. So Kelly, if you're listening, you know that the Take Two family and Jerry and I are praying for you. And also yesterday's caller, Lillian from Fort Wayne, Indiana. It was the first time you called, Lillian, about your family situation. So many people weighed in on it and said, Lillian, we've got you covered in prayer, and Our Lady will undo all the tangles, the webs, everything, because that's what she does. She just gets in there. She's our great spiritual mother, and she helps us. So Lillian, you've got prayers coming to you as well. Others that have weighed in by email, we're getting back to you this afternoon. Jerry and I are spending some really great time responding to all of your prayer requests, your stories, and we just we read everything. So if we don't respond to you, don't think that we just let it go by the wayside. We read it, and we both, Jerry and I, talk about it, and it actually helps us to formulate future shows. Wouldn't you agree with that, Jerry? I mean, so many of the life experiences that we get from the emails help us to pick topics for the future.
Yeah, they do. In fact, they often become topics on the show. Like I think yesterday's topic was suggested by a listener. So if there's something you think that the Take Two family would benefit from talking about on a future show, call in. You can suggest that right now on the air. You can comment on a past show. Maybe you were on the line on a previous show and we just ran out of time and you didn't get on, so you can bring up that topic again as well. So here's the number: 833-288 3986 1-800 no 888 excuse me 888 2888 what's the number, Demi? 833-288 EWTN. Yeah, you give it out a million times, and then the one time you don't have it right in front of you, you can't remember it.
And if I may, Jerry, if I can just also do another little shout out to all our friends at Light of the World Roman Catholic Church in Littleton, Colorado. They are hosting an event, just a wonderful event that I'm getting. That's the Ladies of the Night's Advent special, and it's wonderful. They're flying me up there. I'm so excited. I get to launch this talk that I've been working on for a long time called Overcoming Fear and Gaining True Peace. And so if you're interested, please bring your daughters to it, 16 and up, please, because it's kind of an adult conversation. But we would love to have you be there, and I'd love to get to meet you in person, especially if you listen to the show, because then it's so nice to put a face to those that listen to the show. But the deadline is November 10th, Jerry. So if you really want to get in on it, they opened it up outside of Light of the World Catholic Church, so you can just call them and they will help you on getting tickets. So I'm excited. It's November 27th. I get to go there, and I can't wait. I'm really excited. This talk really turned out well. So.
Yeah, who would not want to go see Debbie speak live in person? So get your tickets for that as soon as you can, and get on the phone here. We've got, it looks like 1 or 2 open lines still. That's all. So we're going to take your calls on anything that you would like to talk about today. It's certainly athletic season for a lot of kids. Parents, how's that going for you? You're running yourselves in 100 different directions. Maybe you're limiting the number of things that your kids can be involved in, or gadget time. Obviously, when they're in school, they take their gadgets with them, their cell phones and so forth. Do you feel good about that? Do you have some kind of family rules about things like that? Anything you want to talk about today, it is all yours. So take it and run with it at 833-288-3986. And Debbie, people can get a hold of us via text and social media too, right?
Yeah, you can text us. You text the letters EWTN to 55000. And you wait for a response, and you put your first name in, your question, your comment, and we'll be happy to put that in. There's maybe some data rates that apply, but I'm sure they're probably minimal. It's probably worth it if you wanted to get your voice heard. Also, you can email us, take2 at EWTN.com. So many weigh in via social media on YouTube and Facebook. The chats are going, and we get those as well. You can also, if you have our number, you can text us, whatever works, however you can reach us. We would love to have your input heard by the world, because remember, this is a global platform, and it's very important that it's your chance to, if you have something to say, this is a great opportunity, because where are you going to have these conversations? I mean, so many of us feel like we're stuck. We can't have these conversations at work or at school, or even sometimes in our own parish community, but we can have them here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. So please make sure we get to hear from you today.
All right, that number is 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. Also, you can email. We get a lot of takes and comments and stuff for the show that we're doing kind of in process or in progress on take2 at EWTN.com. Take the number 2 at EWTN.com, and we will do our best to get to your email question or comment as well. So the phone lines are filling up. There is, looks like one available at 833-288-3986. It's our Unscripted show. You pick the topic. Okay, time to get to your phone calls where you pick the topic, you set the table, and set the tone of the conversation here on Unscripted on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Also, I want to let you know that coming up, let's see, it is tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock on EWTN Eastern Time on EWTN Radio Classics. The dynamic deacon Harold Burke Sivers delivers a powerful talk on how to find the joy of the Lord in today's world. My goodness. I mean, I think about this a lot, Debbie. You know, I look around sometimes and think, wow, how do you stay joyful with all the weird stuff that's going on, really the evil stuff too. So the dynamic deacon Harold Burke Sivers has this talk on finding joy of the Lord in today's world. That's tomorrow at 1 Eastern Time on EWTN Radio Classics.
I wanted you to do the honors, Jerry, because your company, TMM, represents Deacon Harold Burke Sivers. And so we just love him so very, very much. Anything he does, you're always going to walk away definitely changed. So he's awesome. God has blessed him abundantly. Okay, Kay in Dallas, Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. You are first up on our Unscripted show today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Welcome, Kay.
Hi, how are you both doing?
Doing well, Kay. Thank you.
Great. So this is a really deep question, probably to start the show off with. But before I ask it, I wanted to thank you for how wonderful your show is, the impact it has, because it fulfills a unique niche, I think, in Catholic radio by valuing each individual person who calls and their experience and helping validate them and help them experience Christ in their lives. So thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Kay.
Thank you, Kay. Yeah, that's exactly why we did this show. So thank you for realizing that and expressing that. We appreciate that so very much.
I think there are a lot of lonely souls out there who are trying their best, but to be heard is a validation of their pain and suffering and is an act of love, of charity, truly. I graduated from the Franciscan University over 30 years ago with, great visions in my heart of what I wanted to do and serve Christ. And my dream was to have a family and to be married. And now 30 years later, my question is, how do you move forward? How can you be motivated in life when all of your dreams are broken? And I know God loves me, but I know there are many people who probably feel this way, thousands of people who feel alone and isolated. But I've ended up with a divorce, 5 children. I'm a single mother, an old marriage, and they're all doing well to different degrees. But for me, now that I've had children and they're estranged due to a very difficult marriage, it's difficult moving forward. I'm sorry my question's so long.
Well, I know, but Jerry and I both want to comment on this, Kay. But first of all, if I heard you correctly, you went through a divorce, got an annulment, you've had children, you had all your dreams broken. It sounds like my story, Kay. Sounds exactly like my story, actually.
Really?
Oh yeah. In fact, if you want to email me at any time, I'd be happy to talk to you about it more in depth, because I haven't had a real relationship with 2 of my 2 children in 11 years because of the divorce.
Oh wow.
So
Wow.
it's been a very, very painful. And by the way, the email is take2 at EWTN.com, and it comes right to Jerry and I, so we can respond. But let me just share something about that. I know where you're coming from. You have all of these visions of what it's going to be like, and we all do. We all paint those pictures. But God works in mysterious ways, and He allows maybe some things to happen. Maybe they're by our own choice or whatever. But we can't really be the orchestrator of our own future, if you know what I mean, right? So, let me give you an example. I would never be sitting here right now on radio with Jerry Usher if I didn't go through what I went through. Never, because I was going in a whole different path. I was actually going into politics, actually. So it was really kind of interesting. But the Lord had a different path for me. I had a great priest mentor that said to me, Debbie, you have to look for where God is bringing you. You have to look for those places where God is bringing you next and where He wants to use you. And Kay, with your foundation, going to Franciscan University in Steubenville, with your foundation, with your faith, with your life experience, God has a reason that you're in this place right now, and He is going to use you if you are open, willing, able, and ready. Now, if you're stuck, if you're kind of spiraling, if you're stuck and you're kind of in that place where you can't move forward, He's not going to use you yet. He's going to use you when you take that first step and you say, okay, Lord, I'm ready. Let's go. And He'll take you. And it may not look the way you thought it was going to look, because mine doesn't look anything like I thought it was going to look. But it's going to be even better because it's for the will of God. And I can't stress it enough. I'm living proof of it, Kay. I hear the pain. I hear the sadness, the disappointment in your voice. It breaks me to the core, but I was there. And I don't ever want to go back there again, because that's not a good place for God to use me. So I don't know if that can help you at all, but I feel your pain, and I get it.
Thank you so much. I feel as women, the way God designed us it's natural in our makeup to nurture and care for those that God has given to us. And to lose that ability to care, to not have times together as a family on vacations, to be treated as an outcast, it's just a redefining of my whole sense of self. And so I guess my question is, because can God still do something with my life? Or
yeah. Well, look at me.
Is there a reason for me to go on? Yes.
Yeah, but look at me, Kay. I mean, I could say the same thing. I think he's using me, right, Jerry? Is he using me? I don't know. Right?
Without a doubt. And Kay, just let me comment quickly on that. Yeah, the answer to that is an unequivocal yes. As long as your heart is beating and you are pulling in oxygen into your lungs, you're breathing, God can and will use you. I just wanted to say something about, you mentioned some of your life experiences. I, too, am a graduate of Franciscan University of Steubenville, 1992. And I used to consider it being on the mountaintop. You have to drive up a little. It's up a little bit of a hill, so you can kind of picture it as mountaintop. But much more than that, the mountaintop experience where Jesus takes Peter, James, and John up on the mountain and He's transfigured. That's in Matthew 17. So I encourage you to give that a read. And Peter says, why don't we build 3 tents here? Because he wanted to stay. Peter thought, this is it. We've arrived. We've made it. We now have that relationship that Jesus wanted us to have with Him. And Jesus says, no, we're not going to build tents here, because who are the same 3 apostles that Jesus took with Him into the Garden of Gethsemane? Peter, James, and John. And I've always believed in my life, Kay, that Jesus allowed those 3 to see Him transfigured in His glory in that mountaintop experience. So even though they did run away for a time during His passion, they knew who He was. They had seen His glory. So when they would not be scandalized to the point of total departure of Jesus when they saw what happened in the garden and what followed that. So all that to say, our lives are like that. Jesus will take us up on the mountain, will show us His glory, we'll have all those consolations, the great times, and all of that. We just have to remember that the tough times are coming, the Garden of Gethsemane is coming, but the resurrection always comes after that as well. So maybe in some way you're walking the passion with Jesus right now, but remember this: He took His 3 closest friends, Peter, James, and John, with Him to the mountaintop and to the Garden of Gethsemane. So if you've traveled that same road, Kay, I know I'm talking a lot, but you can consider yourself dearly beloved by Jesus, and He wants you by His side as He goes through all of these things. And the flip side of that is He's by your side as you go through all of this in your life. So I don't know if I'm not even certain if anything I said made sense, but it just came to me.
Totally did.
So as his companion, He wants us to walk with Him in His glory and in His suffering, to be a true companion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I could have said that in 3 seconds, Kay. You just did.
That's because she went to Franciscan U.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But Kay,
right.
Kay, when it comes to the children, keep that 30,000-foot view, okay? Think of all of eternity. You're never going to be separated from your children. Never, ever, ever. Okay, right now it's painful, it's emotional. I get it. There's that hole in your heart, and you live with that perpetual grieving because your children are alive, but they're not really real close to you. I get it. Believe me. But keep that bigger view, because that's what's going to let you transcend this pain and suffering that you're feeling right now, and let you get on with your purpose, because you do have a purpose all the way until you take your last breath.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're very welcome, Kay. Our prayers go with you, and we ask that you would be so kind as to keep us in your prayers as well and the entire Take Two with Jerry and Debbie family. It's Unscripted. What do you want to talk about? Anything at all. If it comes to your mind or is on your heart, it's fair game on the program today at 833-288-3986.
Jerry, if Kay's still on, Kay, if you're listening, I'm listening to a 3-part series that is being done by a priest. He's actually a priest that is schooled in he's an exorcisms and stuff, and he's talking about divorce and what happens and how the demons are attacking marriage. When I get done with this, I'd love to forward it to you. I want to watch all 3 parts. I just watched the first one. It is so powerful. But Kay, if you can email me at take2 the number 2 at EWTN.com, I'll be sure and forward it to you because it may help with your situation. And Jerry, this is the problem that happens with divorce. It goes on to generations and generations. I mean, look, you talk about being a child of divorce.
Yeah, I can vouch firsthand for the damage that it does, and really the disadvantage that it puts children in, not only as children but as adults. I sometimes say I'm a 57-year-old 7-year-old because, I was 7 when my parents divorced, and even to this day, I still struggle with very, very difficult things, emotional things, and just handling life in some ways. So, yeah, it's I just really hope parents, please, I beg you, if your marriage is having a little bit of a difficulty and you have kids, please put them first. Put them first, please. That's okay. And if you've been through a divorce, this isn't to make you feel bad, but please do what you can just to make sure that your children are nurtured in the right ways, get that emotional upbringing that they really need, and so that they are, in the best possible shape to enter into adulthood and live their lives really on their own and contribute to society. So thank you, Deb.
Yeah. Julie in Weston, Virginia on Guadalupe Radio Network. Look at Guadalupe Radio Network go. Hi, Julie. Welcome to Take Two Unscripted.
Yes, hi, Debbie and Jerry. Wanted to say, first off, that my husband and I listen to you every day, and you are all true, both of you truly a blessing to us, as we know to so many others. But it's just a joy to listen to your program every day. I was calling briefly today, and it's more for a prayer request, because it was a year ago today that we buried my father, who at Arlington Cemetery served our nation for 33 years in the Army. And he was 91 years old, and it was at this hour that we were there and just thinking of him.
Oh, and his first name, Julie?
Truly miss him. Jack.
Jack, okay.
And my mother's 92. They married after World War II in Germany in 1947, where they met. And they were there for 5 years before they came back to the States. My dad was able to stay there 5 more years so she could be with her family for that time. But they were almost married 70 years when he passed away, and she's not able to walk anymore, and she's 90. She'll be 93 on the Feast of St. Nicholas on December 6th. And my dad's birthday was the 23rd of December, so they were born the same year, 1925, just 2 weeks apart, like 2.5 weeks apart.
Oh, and what's your mom's name, Julie?
Her it's a German name. It's Hildegard.
Hildegard. Oh, yeah. Okay. I know.
From St. Hildegard.
Yeah. Beautiful. And so, how is your mom? 1 year. You guys are still grieving the loss. It doesn't matter how old our parents are. When our parents start to go, it's a strange feeling because there's so many things that take place. They tend to leave a spouse behind, especially if they're married a long time, like your parents. The children start to think, wow, who's next? And you get all these feelings. So how are you all doing emotionally? Because it's only been a year, and your dad seemed like such a great, strong man.
He was, and it's kind of a generational thing, I think, because my mother, she kind of silently grieves herself. She's a little illusional in that, she thinks she sees him all the time, and she always wants us to take care of him, but we try to tell her, that he's resting in the arms of God and he's at peace. So
Right.
it's very difficult for her because he was literally, I would say, in some ways, a savior to her because of the war years and things, and that's how she always kind of
Right.
saw him.
Well, and my
He took
mother.
care of her family.
Right. My mother did the same thing when my dad passed. My mother could see him coming down the hallway, and I said, it's that muscle memory, that memory of them being so connected. I mean, your parents being 70 years, but you never know when the good Lord's ready to call your mom home. You never know. Your dad may be the one that is going to be the one to greet her first and bring her home, because my aunt. The Dominican sister saw her parents. My grandfather came to my grandmother and grabbed her hand and took her to the mountains of Sicily. So there you go. Anyway, this is beautiful. Thank you, Julie, for your call. And this is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, Unscripted. We want to hear more from you.
This is your show. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. You are the ones who drive the program every day. And those who push all the buttons and keep us coloring between the lines are Rich, Ryan, and Jeff. They are the immediate show team behind the scenes. And thank you to the affiliates for carrying the broadcast. We appreciate that. 833-288-3986. It's unscripted. That one Friday a month, we just allow you to talk about whatever you like. And Susan has something she would like to bring up. She is listening on Sirius XM 130 in Daytona, Florida. Hi, Susan. Thanks for calling.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call today.
Sure.
This is basically a prayer request. My daughter is 32 years old, and when she was 8, her father molested her. And all her life, she has been on and off blaming me for what happened when I wasn't even there. He had did it on his visitation weekend. And she's, on and off we've had a relationship, but it's been very shaky. As long as, I was doing what she wanted and I was telling her what she wanted to hear. And then this time, about a year and a half ago, she has been keeping my granddaughter from me, and she's totally disconnected herself from me. She won't take any calls from me. She won't listen to me. And she's very angry with me. And I pray for her every day. And I feel kind of lost in this process.
Right. Well, No, don't be sorry, Susan.
My family does not try to help the situation. They say they're going to stay out of it. And it's just been very hard, and I have nobody to talk to about it.
Right. Well, a couple things. First of all, Susan, as you may know by listening to the show, Debbie and I are not therapists or counselors or anything, so we can just kind of share from our hearts as if something maybe had happened to us or within our own sphere of influence. And by the way, I did experience the same thing that your daughter did when I was about 7 years of age, not by one of my parents, but by someone in the neighborhood where I grew up. So I know personally the trauma and the wound that this inflicts on somebody. So what I would encourage you to do in light of that little piece of information is to always try and see this from the standpoint of your daughter. Okay, she's 32 now, you said, but you may have heard me, a few minutes ago say on the program, sometimes I feel like a 57-year-old 7-year-old. Okay, and in many ways, your daughter might be a 32-year-old 8-year-old or younger. These kinds of things cause us really, I believe, from my own experience, and I've heard others, to kind of turn in on ourselves, to want to be self-protective, to want to be very, very guarded and put up walls and defenses all around us. So she's maybe manifesting some of that in her relationship with you. And I'd be curious to know, was her father, did the two of you stay married? Is he still a part of her life?
No, he actually, we divorced and when she was 5, and then he molested her at 8.
Okay.
And I just want some, millions of prayers to go up to her because I love her, and we've done everything as far as counseling to do, and then there was a point in her life where she didn't even want to do that, and I can't really force her. So she's just totally disconnected from me, and I just feel like I need a lot more prayers from the community.
Right. Okay, well, we'll start praying. But, Susan, we've really got to turn to Our Lady again, Our Lady Undoer of Knots. These situations in families are messy. Every single situation,
Right.
when you look at the layers of it, it's messy. It's not easy. It's not an easy fix. And like you said, you can go to counseling for a while. It may work. And then one party decides they opt out. And then there goes the counseling breakdown. Couple things. We've got to turn to Our Lady. Our Lady's got to put in your path, in your family, opportunities for you and your daughter and your grandchild to come together. There's got to be reconciliation. The further it goes, it's harder to become unified again together. It's hard for that to happen. I know because mine's been going on for 11 years. It gets very hard. The further it goes, it gets into the distance and it gets difficult for that unification. But we're going to pray for that because Our Lady can do it and she will do it. But we must rely on her. We're relying on ourselves, and with man, it's very difficult. With God, all things are possible. So we can make this happen because Our Lady, she pleads with her son, and she makes these miracles, major or minor miracles, happen. So Susan, if you've got to take on the Lady Undoer of Knots as well, if you believe in that. I hope you do. If not, we'll take it on for you. But it's not going to be as effective if you don't take part. So are you willing to do it? I'm going to put you on the spot because we're going to have prayers all around you now.
Yes, I pray constantly, every minute that I'm awake.
Okay, and pray to Our Lady and say, please, you gotta undo these knots because this is an absolute mess. And so we'll all do it with you, and Jerry's going to take it on as well. And you said
Saint Monica as well. Yeah.
Saint Monica, Saint Rita. I mean, there's some Padre Pio. We enlist all the saints to help us, Susan, and you got to do that because it's in your situation. There's just so much you can do, and then it's out of your control. And if you said you went to professional help, although I will tell you, revisit that. Don't give up on professional help because it really, like spiritual direction from your pastor, any type of professional counseling to do any type of reunification, that type of therapy where you bring people back together and heal the wounds. You've got to really keep that, on the forefront. Don't just disregard that just because your daughter opted out. I mean, keep rethinking that and reapproaching that. What do you think, Jer?
No, I think it's all good, and hopefully Susan, she's still with us here. What do you think, Susan? Has this given you at least a little bit more of a glimmer of hope to move forward here?
Yes, it's just confirmation that the Lord is always with us, and they're putting people out there like you and programs like you to really support the community where they feel alone. and where there seems to be no hope. And I really appreciate the fact that I'm able to listen to you. I feel blessed every single day of my life, and I pray every day for reunification with my daughter. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. We will pray for that as well. And let us all remember Jesus' attitude and disposition toward the children in Scripture. And when these things happen to children, I really believe, Debbie, that God's mercy and grace and healing are virtually, they're guaranteed. It's a lock as long as we seek that with our hearts and in the right channels. Like you said, Debbie, don't forsake professional help, but also the spiritual help, and maybe get some go to a priest who can help you with the inner healing and so forth, because healing is available, and progress and a fruitful, joyful life can still be lived.
Well, and Jerry, I don't want to over-spiritualize this, but I attended the first session of this priest's retreat that he gave. And I'll tell you what, he talked about demons, and that's what the demons want us to do. They want us to feel helpless and hopeless, okay? And once we get to that place, they know they've won. And we can never get to that place. We have to take every breath, every movement we go forward, we have to have a little sense of hope, and we know that we can, with the help of the angels and saints, we can get through this. So we're not alone. We're not alone. That's a lie that that the demons tell us. That's okay. So let's see where are we going next, Jerry. You wanted to read an email, I think, real quick. Didn't you?
Well, you know what? It could be a little bit involved. So let me save that for just a minute.
Okay.
I think Paul is next, listening to the Station of the Cross. Take two with Jerry and Debbie in Braintree, Massachusetts. Hi, Paul. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Good afternoon, Jerry and Debbie. And first of all, on a personal, Debbie, you were fantastic. You were out of this world, terrific last week in your contributions you made to the fundraising effort on behalf of our Station of the Cross fall appeal. I'll just say on a personal, my contribution went through because I called my bank this morning to get my automated transactions. That check cleared, so I know. I said, praise the Lord, So I'm glad that I could have helped, and you were fantastic. Great job, Debbie.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. I almost lost my voice over it, but it still hung in there, so it's all good.
I heard that. I was driving to a high school football game through Central Massachusetts last Friday night, and I said, "Oh, is she going to make it? Is she going to make it?" With the grace of God, you did, and I prayed for you. But
you.
I wanted to say you're very welcome. My whole thing about something you touch on from time to time. It's the whole subject of redemptive suffering, which is really on my mind. It's and one of the things being drawing closer to God every day and trying to become, live a holy, Christ-centered life and it's hard to be a man of God and a man of faith and not a man of the culture. I always like to rely on what St. Paul tells us, and I believe in Jerry's in Colossians about how he boasts of nothing else but the suffering that he inherits from Christ. He boasts of the wounds, and he links them to the cross of Christ, and that's how we're to live. And the world, as you well know, the world teaches us to the contrary, that suffering is something we run away from, or we should run away from. Well, I don't believe any of what the secular world is teaching me. And, I just abide by and trust in the wisdom of God, the teachings of Christ, because let's face it, we are all subject to the authority of Christ, all of us. And Jerry, I've heard you say before that, and like you, I wasn't a very good sufferer. I was a terrible sufferer for many years. I went through a divorce myself. Debbie, like you, I suffered parental alienation. I have a daughter. She's 22. I have not seen her in 5 years. I could tell you in an email sometime why that is, but I pray for her and pray to the Holy Spirit all the time. But the whole thing about redemptive suffering is for a multitude of purposes. We pray to use it to I think to bring peace and to the suffering souls in purgatory, that God will render the favorable judgment, that we welcome into the kingdom of heaven, and certainly for conversion of sinners and salvation of souls. And every suffering that that I encounter, I don't run away from it. I become, even if it's physical pain or whatever. And I have my share of them. I'm in pretty good health, and thank God, knock on wood. But use it. It's a gift from God. Don't shy away from it. And don't run away from it. And I can't emphasize enough how important that is. It has to be a change of attitude, and I think it's certainly the wisdom of God, I think, is what really leads us in that direction, to accept it and use it. That God puts it there for a purpose, and it is truly a gift to read, and certainly bring people. We always try to bring people back into the Catholic faith who've abandoned their faith. And unfortunately, this whole scandal that's going on with pre-sexual abuse, unfortunately, I'm seeing it in my own circles, aliens in my own family. I'm the only one in my family who practices the faith, and I pray for those that have abandoned it. So I want to just throw that out to you and let you guys kind of talk about that a little bit, if you would.
Well, redemptive suffering, Paul, is such a beautiful thing. It can be a very mysterious, very challenging thing. You're right. You quoted me right. I am a horrible sufferer, and I do try and embrace my suffering. And I just really believe if God gave us the eyes to see what our suffering is doing, we would all ask for more of it. I really believe, because we can convert hearts, we can save souls. Jesus is the one mediator between God and men, but we share in that mediation. It's all through the Bible how it talks about we share in Christ. Paul writes, we make up in our bodies what is lacking in the sufferings of Christ. There's another passage that says, console other people with the consolation you've received from God. So it is because we are in Christ that we can offer ourselves, our suffering, in union with him on the cross to the Father. What's the Father going to say? If I say, Father, I have this headache right now, and I unite it with your Son on the cross for graces for my friend Bob, okay, is God going to say, no, I'm not going to answer that? What's he looking at? He's not looking at me and my suffering per se. He's looking at my suffering united with his Son, Debbie, and that's something he cannot refuse to answer. I really believe that.
Well, and I just want to tap into what you were saying and what you were expressing, Paul. Jerry, you were talking about we would ask for more of it. This is, I don't want to oversimplify our lives, but let's face it, folks, this is a training period for us. Our goal is to get to heaven, or it should be anyway, right? To the beatific vision, to be with our God for all of eternity. So we should be using this time as a time of preparation to be purified, to on a walk of holiness. This is a training period. So this isn't. So many times we make this a heaven right here. Okay, right now, this is it for me. My life is heaven, and I don't want any suffering. I've got to have everything great, because if it's great, then I'm successful. And we're missing out on the true elements of a deeper spirituality. So I do echo what you say, Paul, about redemptive suffering. What you share too, Jerry. That we've got to get a better understanding from a spiritual perspective of what it means to suffer, and then we will be able to either embrace it, get through it. Maybe we still will run from it. Who knows? But we'll learn more about ourselves and what it means to be on path to seek God. So yeah, Paul, I think that's great. The more we can talk about it, I think the more it helps people, because let's face it, at some level, we're all kind of suffering. I'd love to meet the one person that has not a single ounce of suffering in their life. What do you think? Have you ever met that person, Jerry?
I have not. But Paul, thank you so much for a great contribution again to the program. And being the very selfish, horrible sufferer that I am, I'm going to ask you, whatever you might be enduring right now as a redemptive means of suffering, if you would just remember me and Debbie and the show team and all of our listeners, we would appreciate that, because we've always got those fiery darts of the enemy coming at us as well. So thanks, Paul. Have a blessed day and a great weekend there in Massachusetts. Yes. Appreciate that. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. Unscripted goes to Matt next in Rochester, New York, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hello, Matt. Thanks for your patience. You waited a long time. Hey. We appreciate that.
Yes, and thank you for taking the call. And I feel I've got a pretty important point to make here. So I'm with you. I'm also a child of a divorced family, and I didn't mention that in the phone call. But that's part of what's influenced me, in terms of my political thinking. So I think, what's happened here, Jerry, because I listen to Catholic radio a lot, and let me give it to you, and what I called in about is climate change and the environment and being a Catholic voter, and that I don't think, we Christians or we faithful people, we religious people have as easy of a choice as the way the media makes it seem. And I think we need to put the environment and climate change on the radar and on that political table the way the Pope did. And I think some of this is coming clearer to Catholics especially, and I know the Mormons are also upset with Trump, because he's really been banging on the immigrants. Okay? And that's obvious to us, because we know the Bible teaches us to welcome the stranger and blessed are the meek. The environment, the problem is that let me take you to that. When Jesus was tempted in the desert, he was offered all the kingdoms and all the power and riches if he made that deal with the devil. At least that's how I remember reading my Bible. And the fossil fuel industry is the most powerful industry on the planet, and it is wealthy beyond compare, and it has a lot of influence in our media, and it always has. So even before climate change, we're seeing all these wildfires and intense storms and flooding. Even before that, they're pumping out tons of carcinogens and tons of things called endocrine disruptors, which things that will affect the fetus, the unborn, as well as those who are already out of the womb. And we're not really, we, the public in general, and that's going to include the religious, are not that aware of it because of that nature of the media ownership, that it's a business and it takes those advertiser dollars from business. So if we don't do like the Pope did and put that on the radar and on the table, we can't count on the media to do it. So I don't think we have as easy of a choice. And let me give you an example. So
Matt, excuse me, Matt, just for the sake of time, we've got a full phone lines here. I don't want to cut you off, but I'd like to, if you can get to the nugget of it, then I think we can kind of dissect it a little bit here. Go ahead.
That we're not really, I really want to hear, on Catholic radio, I want the environment put on that table. And I want people to realize that things are a lot more dire with the environment than they may realize. And the media isn't going to cover it for them. Like when Brett Kavanaugh, was up there, they covered the social agenda with abortion, but they did not talk about his horrible environmental voting record and why the environmental groups are really upset about him. And that's also Catholic, and that's also Christian. So it's just not as easy, the choices people may be led to believe by a media who's only going to focus on the culture war, which is a real thing. I don't deny that. I'm a parent. I'm a child of divorced people, too, and I'm with you on a lot of those issues. But I'm just saying I don't think it's as easy of a choice, and I really think we, need to kind of start bringing ourselves up on it because the media is not going to. And I think it's got to be right up there, right up there.
Yeah, well, absolutely, Matt. There's no question about that. Pope Francis wrote Laudato Si, his encyclical on the environment and our stewardship of it. See, we are stewards of the earth. All we have to do, it's a very simple way to understand this. Go back to the book of Genesis in the first couple of chapters of the very first book of the Bible, as you know, Matt, and Debbie, most of our listeners know, at creation, God tells Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply, have dominion over the earth. Okay, so man has dominion. Man is the ruler of the earth, but has to look at the earth as God's creation and as good stewards of it. And as we look around today, there's trash everywhere. There's pollution. There are all these things, Matt, that you talked about. And we absolutely have to be vocal and really aggressive in protecting God's creation. It is God's creation. It's the only world that we have. And if we don't have, if we have a world that's full of pollution and carcinogens and all this stuff that's killing people, it makes it's a horrible place into which to bring human life. So yeah, the life issues are all important. They all go together, but there has to be, Debbie, a hierarchy, obviously, and I don't think Matt would argue with this. But I don't think any good, well-informed Catholic, Debbie, would be saying that the environment is not important, in terms of the scheme of things, the life issues.
Yeah, I totally agree, Matt. But I will tell you, Matt, we've done a few shows where we've tried to attempt to address environmental issues. And I know that Cresta in the afternoon, Al Cresta also tackles that as well. And the thing about it is you got to follow the money. The moment you start talking a different way, the ones that have the big money come out of the woodwork and just shoot you down. We did a show, I'll put it right out there, Matt. I am very, very, very organic. I do everything organic. And other folks had problems with me expressing that. That's just what I am. I just said what I am. But people have problems because, money drives things. The abortion industry is a money generating mega big industry. Okay. And I mean, so we have to follow the money and then trace it back to that and then get back to what is really godly and not just for the material gains or financial gains. And so the love of money that's what's causing all of this. So I don't think we disagree with you, Matt. I think we just have to figure out ways we can approach these subjects without having all the hot buttons, go off on people when they say, well, I'm going to lose my job if you keep talking against this industry. That's what happens. And Jerry, am I correct on that?
Yeah, and again, if we don't hold ourselves accountable for the environment and the planet, and just making sure it is well taken care of and that we're good stewards of it. Nobody's going to, because God is our creator. He is our God. We believe in him. We serve him. We are his children. If we're not taking care of what he has created, we are neglecting a big part of our calling. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But of course, there has to be, enough priority and emphasis put on, the other life issues, abortion, contraception, end of life, stem cell research, euthanasia, and so forth.
I mean, let's face it, this world's a mess right now. It's off kilter, Matt. So we agree with you. Let's try to tackle all these things and have some healthy discussions and come to some real godly decisions. That's what's going to be best for the world and what is pleasing to God. So yeah, Matt, way to go. Keep up that passion. We love your conviction. Harold, you tried to get in yesterday. We got you in today, Harold. We're so excited. Silver Springs, Maryland on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Harold. Welcome.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Debbie. How are you guys?
Hi. Doing well, Harold. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I just wanted to share a little bit about my story, because you guys were talking about redemptive suffering yesterday. Anyway, I have this muscular dystrophy. I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm on a ventilator as well. And it's kind of hard for me to get out as much, but I'm able to do that. But anyway, I went to Lourdes in 2000 with my family, and that's when I had a kind of spiritual healing. I had a conversion experience, and I learned about redemptive suffering, that I could offer my suffering for the good of others, and I can unite it with the suffering of Christ on the cross. And I've been trying to do that ever since. And some days it's kind of it's not always easy, and I'm not good at suffering either, even though I have a lot of experience at it. But I think of St. Therese, that she used to offer even her suffering poorly experienced even to Christ, even to God. And, nothing's lost. Even your poorly handled suffering can be offered as well, and that is itself a suffering. So nothing's lost, and I just want to encourage all the listeners to offer as much as possible their suffering up for the good of the church, and especially during Mass, during when we can unite our sufferings and put it on the pallet
during the consecration.
Patent during the consecration. Yeah.
Well, Harold, let me offer a thought or two here, Harold, because we've got about a minute to go before we end the program. God bless you, Harold. Thank you for calling. Mm-hmm. And as Debbie said, you were on the line yesterday, and we didn't have time for you. We felt bad about that, so we wanted to make sure that since you called in again today, to get you on the air. But you are echoing what has been also brought up by other callers on this show, and that is redemptive suffering. Again, I think if we saw the good that our redemptive suffering could do, and by the way, what is redemptive suffering? It is us, whatever we're enduring, any pain, any suffering that we're doing, we say, God, receive this. Receive my suffering for my wife, my mother, my son, the souls in purgatory, the unborn babies. We offer that to God in union with Christ on the cross. It has amazing power. Amazing power. And Debbie, there's so much wasted suffering in the world today.
It's very true.
So
very
Harold
true.
is just really nailed it here.
Harold, I just want to say you're one of my heroes. I just love your soul. I think you're an incredible person. You said you were on a ventilator. You speak so well, so beautifully. Keep talking, keep telling your story, help others, because they need to hear from you, Harold. They need to hear from you. You're a great person. Thank you for sharing your story with us today. Jerry, on Monday, we're going to talk about what personality trait you would like or to develop. I think that's kind of an interesting topic, and I look forward to it. So until then, folks, have a beautiful and blessed weekend. See you real soon.